Hi folks, second video on the counterfeiting industry. Let me just straightforward say or clarify with regard to the previous video, the counterfeit industry is not somebody that does not concern a situation where somebody wants to apply for a similar trademark as yours. So that one is in competition with your maybe illicit, not illicit, but maybe bad competition habits he has, but that would be a civil matter between you both. He would act according to the law and you should defend yourself according to the law. So that is one issue. The counterfeiting industry are acting completely out of the law. Normally they don't have even any trademark at all. So they do not pay taxes, they have slavery conditions for producing, etc. So that's completely different. And we are focusing here in this video series on the counterfeiting industry, right? Now, let's talk about the functioning of the counterfeiting industry in order to see where we can focus on any remedy that would be for the next video. Now, although I reckon here in this channel that everybody, just everybody, is able to get some financial freedom, but you need to work on it, on your business model, on everything, right? Although the situation is very dire, I recognize in many countries there are a lot of prejudices, a lot of insecurity, a lot of outside influence. That is, and why not? We have to recognize there is inequality in the world, so some part of the planet is very poor. Let's look at China. China have still more than hundreds of millions living in poverty, although they made a lot of progress, right, with regard to leaving the poverty part. And other countries in Southeast Asia, same thing. And Africa is not rich, right? There are distressing situations all over. And the poverty in Latin America is also something which from time to time you see in the news. So what would you think if somebody with deep pockets go to, I don't know what part of China, where poverty reigns in, and there's an old factory of clothing, etc., but they do not make any progress, or they are about to stop that. And he says, well, you make me that kind of clothing, I will tell you, and I buy you the whole production you will do. What do you think they will say? I thought so. They will say, yes, naturally, we will do it, and and maybe they have a certain idea about intellectual property. I reckon not, and they don't care probably much about. And even more so if that deep pocket man tells him or tells them, well, don't care about the police, don't care about the local politicians, don't care about the customs. We have all an agreement about everything. So they would just produce, right? This is the same thing as the drug industry, I would say. I would compare one and the other very much, although in the counterfeiting industry, the choices to be done by the deep pockets are more flexible. Whereas in the drug industry, they are bound to climatological situations, like in Colombia for drugs, or in, I don't know, in the Golden Triangle or so, in Afghanistan. They are bound to certain regions. Here in the counterfeiting industry, no, they are not. They provide just some raw material, and it is produced wherever it can be produced. So the choice is wider. But the situation is more or less the same. Now, let's go to, that is the supply side, right? The supply side is quite, well, in that situation, quite easy to understand how it works. and it is not necessary to have a high convincing level in order to get this done. Now, the demand side is more or less on the, so to say, developed countries, Europe, US, Australia, I don't know, other countries as well. So these countries, they are on demand, just like in the drug industry, they are on the demand side. Now, what do you think if the demand side is not there? What will happen? Will the counterfeiting industry still produce? No, they will not, just in the drug industry. And that is often also the argument raised by those countries producing drugs. Well, you do your homework first. So the pressure is more on the developed countries to drop the production of drugs, and here as well to drop the production of counterfeiting goods. So the answer is at first, well, you do care of your demand side, and then the rest will fall like house of cards. So this is one thing, and there's an additional issue here in Europe with regard to the demand side, that the distribution. I live here in Spain, and with regard to the distribution, there are normally used illegal immigrants, and they have nothing, so to say, to seize off. They have just the counterfeiting merchandise, and they do not have even a decent living here. And the enforcement industry, although it is open at the beach, for example, they sell it openly, they do not something against them, because they would just burden another problem. They would just take another problem on board. What to do with this illegal immigrant? It can't be sent home. Well, Europe is like this. Other countries would think otherwise. But we have to take care of them in one or the other way. So it would be much more costly to take them into some kind of home and take care of them, to make all the proceedings what is necessary in order either to legalize or either to send them back or whatever. So this is one thing. Now, with the demand side, there are some studies have been carrying out from the European Union Intellectual Property Office, from the observatory. I will leave you the link afterwards, which tells you what is the situation with regard to the demand side. And 80% of the consumers, that is a kind of poll, right? 80%, 70, 80% over the last 3 studies, they say, well, we are well aware about intellectual property, that it is necessary for the artists, for example, in the piracy issues, to gain money, for innovation, to have intellectual property, to have patent protected, etc. So they know what the functioning of the positive influences of the intellectual property on the economy is. Now, 30% of the younger respondents in Europe, right, they say that, well, they can understand that if a product is highly priced, then a counterfeiting product would be attractive to the consumer. And, well, you can't really judge those who buy them. On the other hand, when being asked, how many do you think, or have you bought these counterfeiting goods in your lifetime? Only 5%, 4%, and 3% over the years, right? Different. They admit to have bought or pirated goods or counterfeited goods. So I would take this with a grain of salt. It is often so, like in the polls, the political polls, it is not necessarily true that the people tell the truth in these polls, in their answers. So if 30% of the younger persons would say they would understand, probably they also bought it. Otherwise, it would not be understandable that 5.8% of European Union imports, all goods confused, are counterfeit. So there must be a market, and well, it is a justification for the public that we have done our job for awareness, etc. But I wouldn't say necessarily that this is the ultimate truth. So what about the middle part? The middle part is the gangs, right? The international gangs, the intelligence, where they know exactly where to avoid obstacles which have been built up by the politicians. It is you have to recognize it is a global, so international. You have to link 2-3 countries, the produce country, the hub countries, and the origin countries, in order to get to some result, and that is often not very difficult. The hub countries, they are interested in promoting their port. The home country, the source country is interested in having a good economy, etc. So the interests in political terms are quite different, and therefore easily to take advantage by the gangs. And they have deep pockets. Yes, they reap the big part of the profit is being given to these gangs. Now, what is that is the function, the overall functioning, and it gives you a clear picture on how you can or you cannot do something against it. Probably it is something just like the drug industry, it will stay with us. We will have some improvement. There are some news. Oh, we have found so many Cartier clocks, watches, and we have destroyed them all. Well, we have done a big job, but still, the Cartier watches will come in. So just like drugs, right? So it will stay with you. So in the next video, I want to give you some idea on what to do with regard to the remedies you as a business still have to do in order to be not the victim on the road here. And there are different strategies, and you have to choose one of them or the other. Thank you for tuning in for this video. Look out for the next one.